Just turn
We'll
this
be,
off.
yeah, you can just do a post there saying we start at 8 o'clock, Max.
Yeah.
Hey, Darlene, how's the audio? Can you give me a thumbs up on the audio?
Hi, Tara.
All right, we'll be starting in about 3 minutes here. We're just
Hi,
kind of
Kathy.
moving some of this stuff around.
It's great to see. Well, I don't see you, Darlene, but I'm glad you're on. Where's the share? I'm trying to find the share. I thought there was a share, Lovey. Oh, wow.
The share is normally down below.
I know, but I don't see it on here.
I got down bottom.
It's not letting me.
Share to Palmerton.
It's not letting me share.
Really?
What happened? It went away. There you go. Oh, there. 5 shares. Oh, there.
All right. Never figured out what that watch party thing really is, but you know. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Wow, Max, it's interesting because we're in a new location here, as I'd like to call it, an undisclosed location. You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's,
Wow, we got about a minute and we'll be starting.
Yep.
So, do we have a sound check? With
so
about a
far,
minute?
no one's saying anything.
I just want them to give us, just give a thumbs up or kick one of those little bubbles up or whatever those things are and stuff like that, just so we know there's some audio going. Or you could turn yours up for a second, love, just to check also. Right? You know, this is some of my favorite time of the month, you know, for things coming together for this hour, you know.
Whoa. I misspelled here. Thank you,
Oh,
everybody.
okay. Thank you guys so much. So we
Just,
got less than a minute and we'll be getting started. Yeah, all right. Oh,
Yeah.
good stack. Well,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
It's
Well,
8 o'clock.
this is something because normally I have a confidence screen that I can see in the front. I can
Right.
see myself. I can see my, you know. So this is really different
We
here.
could've
Because
set
normally,
up-
what happens? Well, first and foremost, good evening. I'm Carbon County Commissioner Chris Lukasevich. I'm joined by my co-host and wife Maggie, and you're joining Carbon Matters live streaming. It's my opportunity with Maggie to present and have a conversation about some of the most important issues occurring in Carbon County from my perspective and from the input that I get from people day in and day out in my role as a Carbon County Commissioner and a
And
citizen of Carbon County.
And we're doing this live from.
An undisclosed location, because as you normally know, we used to be up pre-6 January. We used to be up in the C4 headquarters,
Right.
which everyone knows was in the 1200 block of Jim Thorpe. Then after 6 January, we moved down to 2 Hazard Square to my office, which I really love that setup down there. That is my favorite setup. But this time we're in an undisclosed location in the cellar, Maggie's
cellar.
art studio.
It's a, yeah, it's a basement.
It's,
Not
it's
a
a
cellar.
base. It's a fit. Right.
Yeah.
A cellar. If you're from around here. Right.
Right.
So again, this is Carbon Matter. So what we're going to do, we're going to start going through some of the issues that matter most to you. Please feel free if you have a comment, concern, issue, relevant to the topic we're discussing, go ahead, feel free to post it there, because there has been a lot happening. I'm going to tell you, I'm coming off a high of our last Carbon Matters, Maggie, when we had Joe Stearns,
Yeah,
the director of
that
Better
was great.
Schuylkill PAC, talking about home rule. Going to talk a little bit about that. Got to continue to keep that energy moving in regards to home rule and local governance. So, but let's start out.
Let me make a quick comment. If
Yep.
you see me comment it, or the C4 Chris Carbon, if you see that, it's actually me typing it, not Chris.
Right.
So
Right.
just so you know that.
All right. So again, also, at any time, 570-503-6780
No, 'cause
is
it's
always an opportunity to call me. Just like today, I did have the virtual meeting after the commissioners' meetings today, and I always give out that number, 570-503-6780, using a little more technology. So you'll see the number, you'll see my email coming across the screen and back there if you can read it there. But C. Lukasevich at carboncounty.net. So let's go ahead and get started. Connie Bowman, big advocate for preserving the quality of experience out at Beltsville.
Yes.
Started a petition, well over 1,000 signatures, if I recall. The county commissioners did receive a copy late last week, early this week. It was a portion of the correspondence that we did receive. So I want to send
Thank you.
a thank you and a congratulations for what she was able to accomplish and to continue to raise the concern and issues that we've seen out at Beltsville State Park, not just this summer, but over multiple years.
The overcrowding, the trash everywhere.
The irresponsible behavior, disrespect for others,
drinking.
Drinking in an area that's alcoholic is prohibited.
Alcohol-free. Yeah, and actually, that one of the suggestions she made was to check coolers, which
Seemed like common sense.
is an awesome idea.
And I did see in the last weekend, I believe it was Labor Day weekend, when Connie was posting some stuff, you did see Alma out there and the Rangers and actually doing some more stringent enforcement.
Yeah.
So at least, but my concern is, so what's going to happen next year, right? So again, it's trying to keep that momentum going. So that's what's going on up at Beltsville. And I don't think I have anything that's okay. I'm doing the soft stuff. So Maggie, you and I got to get down to Weissport just a couple weekends ago, did we not? To help that event raise money,
Yeah.
right? And
Well,
that
that's
was
Franklin Township, actually.
that little
Yeah.
section is right. Yeah.
It's St. Peter's Community Resource Center.
Yep.
They provide meals for the community, for those who need it, and they do a whole lot of
They
other
play.
things.
They use the place as a location in which organizations can host events. Correct?
Yes,
Or-
the cheerleaders cheer there in the wintertime
Yeah.
so that it's indoors and
Yeah. So that was down in the dunking tank, and actually it warmed up. Even had some sun come out and stuff like
Right.
that. I was
Yeah.
kind of getting pretty bronze down there because I don't burn. I just get bronze.
right.
But no, it was really nice. So I want to thank them for the invitation to come down for an hour in the dunk tank. That was an enjoyable time. And we met some people we really didn't interact with before. And so it was a great.
It's actually owned and run by the People's EC Church down there, and that's Pastor Mike Colson. He's also a contributor for the New York Times, the Times News. I'm sorry, New York.
The
Times.
New York
The New York
Times.
Times. No, the Times
I
News.
don't know if one's better
I don't know. I
than
just
the other.
promoted him like crazy.
Right, yeah. From the Times News to the New York Times.
Yeah, no,
right.
He contributes on this in the Saturday paper.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's an article: Carbon hotel tax revenue steady. Well, I will tell you that what the county actually took in over the last 2 quarters. So that would have been from January, March, April, May, through the end of June. Actually, $45,000 above what we had the year prior. So hotel tax revenue is right where it needs to be. And I think, though, I don't think there was a doubt that was going to happen given the influx of New Yorkers, New Jerseyites who kind of flowed into the Poconos in our region during COVID-19. While we're all complaining about them and their presence and bringing, COVID-19 to an area that was doing really well, at least they left us something, their tax money. So, and that helps fund things such as Mock Chunk Lake Park, which gets about $150,000 a year from hotel tax revenue to help support quality experience out there. Our VA director, right? We got to continue to focus on enhancing and ensuring that our veterans get the benefits that they have earned and have a right to. Christine LeClaire, another accomplishment, another feather in her cap for an award that is the first time that I think anyone has ever seen an individual from Carbon County
So it's
receive.
not only a feather in her cap, but it's also a feather in Carbon County.
Yeah, and interesting, it's a feather in the blue cap because the award is the John C. Ace Man Blue Cap of the Year Award. So that comes from 720 posts in the state. Are competing against that. So great job, Christine, and for your continued dedication to the veterans and those who are less fortunate.
Well, it's not even just the veterans. Right. It's also like she helps with food pantries.
Valor, which it actually always goes beyond just veterans when they do, be it their backpacks or stuff like that. Yeah, because that's what their stand downs is what Mark and the folks there contend. Oh, Weatherly plans an addition to the building. Now, Weatherly, they're just finishing up their borough building. But if you've been following this issue, you might have realized that, mostly if you read the Standard Speaker, I think it was probably in the Times News also, but really from the get-go, from the day one of construction, the police were already raising Cain that there was no place for the police cars and stuff. Right. So they're already, and matter of fact, they haven't even inaugurated that new borough building. Actually, the one magistrate office, the MJR, which is currently in Weatherly, down there by the gas station and stuff, that's going to move over to this new building also. So the county is renting, or the courts is renting some space there. But again, poor prior planning, right? You're not even done and you're having to do an addition. Shoot, man. Hey, we were just...
Oh, and they built it on a...
a site that is probably not optimal for human... for humans to be on, right? And we had that issue there. That was the old plant that was up there. We did have citizens raising concerns about it, and I think they were rightly concerned with that. Now, they did really work to mitigate it. Oh.
You need to get closer because you're actually on the outside edge.
Okay. All right. Just on the outside of the screen.
Like you're actually like almost off.
Right in your center.
Not really. I'm over it.
Oh, okay. All right.
We need to move it anyway.
All right. Well, good. Well, good evening again. For those just joining, this is Chris Lukasiewicz, Carbon County Commissioner. This is Carbon Matters, live streaming, and I'm joined by my wife and co-host Maggie, who's sliding me around to try to get me more centered here. But we were just talking about Beltsville Lake, and I did see a Zoom. I guess now Bob Ford is using a drone because we saw this view of Mock Chunk Lake Park. The problem I had is with the cut line. The beach area of Mock Chunk Lake Park is sparsely populated on a recent morning. The beach was only open to Carbon County residents for the summer, so social distancing could be maintained. Au contraire, mon frere. It wasn't simply Carbon County residents, and we got to stop the Times News and the fake news. This is another example of it. Carbon County made the determination that the beach would be open to Carbon County residents. Those having a season pass, regardless of residency. Those who were camping, regardless of residency. And those renting a pavilion, regardless of residency. Now, that was all about ensuring a quality experience in a safe area in which we could ensure physical distancing during the COVID pandemic. And we knew it was going to come at a cost, and that's a financial cost, because normally we would fill up to 800, 1,000 people on that beach. Now, we've determined with the park director that we're saying 100% capacity is 800 people on the beach. We had it originally down to 400, and then we took it up to 75% to 600. But that came at a financial cost. And that financial cost, the beach itself on admissions lost about $160,000, $165,000.
But it's not coming out of the taxpayers' money, because it's actually that the hotel
tax
is
helps,
going to make up.
will
the
help
difference.
some of
Help
it.
some of it.
Again, it does. Again, there is a budget. The budget is down. There's also a decrease in camping, and we thought camping would stay a little bit higher. It was about $68,000 down. Now, we did also have to reduce the number of campsites available, because as you looked at that 600, well, it wasn't because of physical distancing on the campsites, because you are physical distance
already, yeah.
But we had to include a percentage of campers who would be on the beach. Right? So to kind of stay at 600, you couldn't simply let 600 daily admissions come in.
It was making the assumption that those campers were going to go on the beach.
A certain percentage of them would.
The reality is a lot of them probably wouldn't. They would go fishing or do other
Yeah, who
stuff,
knows?
but not necessarily
Yep.
swim. So,
But again,
But you
leaning
have to-
on the side of caution
exactly.
and
You still
stuff
had to
there.
make sure.
Yeah. So that was, again, so what I think the big one is, what are we going to do? Just like Beltsville, what are we going to do next summer? Are we going to be overrun at Mock Chunk Lake Park, which there's probably 4 or 5 days where that park would have filled to capacity. And I'm talking last year capacity. I was out there every weekend with Molly. Primarily, we would go out there every Saturday and Sunday, and on the holiday weekends we had to kind of see how things were flowing out there. And there were some days where it would just be car after car after car of individuals who didn't want to buy a season pass and had to turn them away. Otherwise, that lake would have been packed, and we probably would have broke even. But again, I'm so glad we were able to provide this experience to the residents of Carbon County and others who bought a season pass or were camping or rented a pavilion.
Yeah. So many comments, though, from people. So glad that was, they were Carbon County residents who hadn't been to the beach in years, because there was no way to enjoy it anymore because of how packed it would get, and it was all out of towners and people that didn't take care of the property.
And that's what I always like to say. I don't necessarily say out of towners or non-county residents, rather individuals, regardless of where they come from, who are irresponsible and not respectful of others.
Right.
And not conscientious of the fact that, your loud music, throwing garbage, not policing up after yourself has an impact on the quality of the experience for everyone. I would like to see us keep number restrictions on Mock Chunk Lake Park. And I think around 600 is the right number. Could we push to 800? Yes. So what I'm proposing is in October out at Mock Chunk Lake Park, I would like to host about an hour and a half, a 2-hour town hall meeting, looking at tentatively at October 10th, Saturday, October 10th, the Mock Chunk Lake Park town hall meeting out at the pavilion on the beach. Allow residents of Carbon County and others who are interested to come have that discussion with me about how we can ensure a quality experience next year and into the future. And then I'll take that input, provide it to the Parks and Recreation Commission for their consideration of those recommendations. All right. No yawning, right?
No yawning.
All right.
Darlene made a comment. She said,
Yep.
we couldn't enjoy Mock Chunk because of people from other states there. It was park full. And Yeah.
Yep.
But this year
Yep.
it was actually
Yeah, it was wonderful. And I
and
will
we
tell
had a wonderful weather. We actually
Yeah.
this has been one of the most beautiful summers and spring summers that I've since we've been here
yeah.
that we've been able to enjoy. So
Yeah, and I will say, from 10 August on out at Mock Chunk Lake Park, there was no admission. There was no admission because we went to swim at your own risk.
Yeah.
As the lifeguards head back to school, to sports, band, college, we no longer have the manning that would allow us to charge. While we always had a lifeguard on station, at least in the lifeguard station, and available for emergency and patrolling the beach, we didn't have them in the chairs. And when you do that, by law, when you no longer have that coverage, you have to do swim at your own risk. And when you have that swim at your own risk, by law, in Pennsylvania, you can't charge admission. So there were well over 3 weeks where there was no admission charge. I saw St. Luke's pays off bonds from Blue Mountain. Now, if you were following Chris Lukasiewicz about 2.5 years ago, I was leading the charge because the county was a guarantor for bonds that placed us in a liability. Now, it was necessary when Gannett Hutton and Palmerton Hospital then became part of Blue Mountain medical system there. It was necessary because we were doing what we could to keep those facilities in the county and afloat, being their guarantors. But once St. Luke's bought them, a nonprofit who made over $1.3 billion in revenue 2 years ago, we no longer needed to have that liability. And if you know things like Enron, WorldCom, look them up, there was a risk. There's always a risk, an unseen risk of unscrupulous behavior taking place that may result in significant liability for the county. So we're clear on that one. That was mission accomplished.
Cassidy, my family wants to express their gratitude for caring about our beautiful lake so much this summer. They spent more time there this year than we have in years.
Well, that's great. Thank
that's
you so
great,
much,
Cassidy.
Cassie.
Thank you
I'm
for the
glad to hear
comment.
that.
And Darlene was saying too that their family they fish more than they swim.
Yeah.
But
Well,
still,
we were-
it's
well,
enjoying the lake.
Yeah, the lake was great. Man, the number of people out there kayaking and
Kayaking,
boating, paddle boards
paddleboarding.
this year, man, it was just people were all over.
was great,
And I know that particular concessionaire had a great season.
Year,
Yep. COVID rules revised for the Carbon County Courthouse. Hey, you know what? Wear your mask. Make sure you're sanitizing your hands. What's going on now? You go in there, they ask you a few questions, they check your
take
temperature. Well, let me tell you about that because that's interesting. So here's some inside baseball, right? That stuff happening behind the scenes. Now, for about 2 months since this COVID thing kicked off, the 3 commissioners were going to the sheriffs and the sheriff's department saying, we need you to help enforce CDC, Pennsylvania Department of Health guidelines. We would like the sheriff's department, who mans security stations at many county buildings, 76 Susquehanna, the courthouse, the annex or administration building, we would like you to ask a couple questions and then just take the temperature of everyone coming in the building. For over 2 months, they said, no. Then all of a sudden, seems out of the blue, because it started to impact them, and specifically the sheriff's department, they decided they were going to do it. And they came across in this particular commissioners meeting, which was on 20 August, as if, they were all on board and stuff like that. The fact is, no, they fought tooth and nail to this particular tipping point. So for 2 months, there was a liability. County employees and residents were at risk because the sheriff's department wouldn't step up to the plate when we needed them most. Being honest, being frank, that's the inside baseball. So I'm glad they finally seen the light, but they saw it 2 months too late.
Too late.
It may have been 3 months actually. Gosh, 'cause that's August. Oh, let's see. Oh, this was August, but it was probably March when we started asking them.
Yes.
So it's probably 3 to 4 months where individuals were placed at risk because they didn't want to check temperatures. Now think about this. They didn't want to check a temperature like this, but they would take a wand and go like
And
this.
get that close to somebody.
So
yeah.
you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, 'cause
Crazy.
that was what they were saying. Is like, well, we want to
Keep
maintain
that distance.
here.
Yeah. All right. Jim Thorpe Borough to remove parking during project. What's that all about? Well, currently out for bid are the renovations of 44 and 76 Susquehanna Street. Right, 44 is going to give us well over probably around 7,500 square feet, and then the first floor of 76 Susquehanna, where the election offices, is going to be renovated. So during the 44 renovation, Jim Thorpe along 209 there has parking spaces, and from 26 October through about 1 May at times we will need to restrict access or parking in those spaces for safety, right? For bringing in equipment and things of that nature, some construction that may be taking place on the facade.
Scaffolding too.
There will be scaffolding. And if you ever been to like New York City or a large city where you kind of have to walk under a tunnel, a scaffolding, that's what's going to be put in place for the safety of pedestrians. Because we're walking back every day, mostly, county employees, people going to Turkey Hill, folks from the high rise there at the Navigation Building. So Jim Thorpe has graciously, at no cost, given the county the authority and the builder to restrict parking there intermittently throughout the construction period. And they're also going to submit 2 highway occupancy permits, one for the gas line and another one to finish curbing. Now, by finishing the curb, if you ever look there at 44 Susquehanna, there's a section of about 25 feet that doesn't have curbing. It has a cutout because the maintenance vehicles used to drive right into there. But now we're going to put curbing there. So we're going to be giving the borough of Jim Thorpe 33 linear feet of additional parking. My recommendation was you need a minimum of 19 feet for a car, and that's the standard, 19 or 20 feet. So that gives you 13 additional feet. My recommendation to the borough of Jim Thorpe, if I could be so bold, and I've already done it, to one of the councilmen. So you take, not do you only get 1 car spot, we're actually giving you 3 spots. We're giving you 1 car spot plus 2 motorcycle spots. Each motorcycle spot is 4.9 feet. Now they are angled at a 60-degree angle, right? So they can angle in. But again, you can get 3 spots out of that 33 feet. So I hope they take advantage of it. Yeah. So where are these offices going to go that are during the renovations is the question you ask here on Carbon Matters, because I'm Chris Lukasiewicz at 570-503-6780 or clukasiewicz at carboncounty.net, joined by my co-host Maggie. So again, you're asking the question, I can hear it. Where are all these people going to go, these offices? Well, planning and development and workforce are going to move up into the Jim Thorpe Area School District office. They'll move as early as mid-October. After the election, the Bureau of Elections will also move up there. Juvenile probation, well, we were originally going to put them at Mock Chunk Trust Company Plaza, right here, about 100 yards from this undisclosed location, right? They're actually going to relocate to a small portion of some space in the courthouse, and they're going to continue to implement telework. And so that's going to save us an additional $1,200, $1,250, probably up to about $1,600, $1,700 a month once you include utility costs from the construction. We're already saving over $400,000 by the way we're going to do this concurrent construction. So that's where those people are going to go. So we do have a home for them. Yeah, they're going to have to move. It's going to be a little challenging for a week. Maggie and I have literally moved dozens of times, but just like us, we had to continue to run our family and work. Those court offices that are moving are going to have to do their continuity of operations plan, right? They're going to have to be simultaneously moving while continuing to provide services to the county. Something we did in the Army all the time. right? You set up a TOC, a tactical operations center. Then when you had to move, you sent out a jump TOC, right? They would go forward, get things set while you continued to do operations, and then you'd move the main TOC there. Easy peasy. I don't know why people are whining.
Is it going to be advertised somewhere where all these offices?
Yeah, and there is money allocated for signage and advertising. Yep, that's part of the plan. You know, good. Yeah.
Just so people know where to go if they're needing.
Yeah, I will tell you, planning and development has very few visitors.
Visitors, right?
Juvenile probation, you don't want to be visiting there if you're a juvenile. Quite frankly, right? Workforce development, that's the other one. I'm sorry. Workforce development, they have practically no visitors. They're going up. They're a non-county entity that uses our space. It's a multi-county Pocono workforce. We are a host for that entity that's focused on initiatives when it comes to workforce development. But the Bureau of Elections, we definitely want you to know where they're going so you can be assured that after the November 3rd election, 20 days later, the election will be certified. They'll begin their movement, and then we'll start the advertising of where they're at. Second floor, Jim Thorpe Area School District office, 401 Center Avenue, Jim Thorpe. You know, that's just 3 blocks up from where I grew up. That's where I went to elementary school, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade.
I know.
I don't fail to tell you that.
Yeah, every time we go past it.
Right. We just saw a picture of William Davis, Bill Davis. If you're out there, we saw your picture of your 1974 Dodge Dart when you ETS from the Army. That was sitting out in front of your house on the street. Saw the Dillies to the right, and then behind what is the magistrate's office now was the old Asa Packer School. Beautiful building. Tragedy that was torn down just a couple of years after I left here for the Army, the early 80s. Yeah. All right, elections. Look, what a fiasco we're having with the continued deluge of, hey, Patriots vote, right? How many of us, or who hasn't received an application for a mail-in ballot? They're hitting it hard. There's 2. Who was this to? This was to our daughter Molly, or the current resident. And you know what? For Molly, it's not a bad option. But you know what? We're going to take her to the polls, right?
Oh yeah, we always go in person.
And then our son Taylor had a personal note from President Trump because he wants our son Taylor to return this form. What's in this form? Pennsylvania application for mail-in ballot. Right? Man, they're pushing that hard now. You know what? If you can't beat them, join them. And that was basically the president's philosophy. Because you know how anti-mail-in ballot he is out of concern for fraud. Right. But again, sometimes you got to tweak your strategy a little bit in order to be victorious. So good on him. But those mail-in ballots, I would ask you, if you believe prior to the primary you requested a quote-unquote permanent annual mail-in ballot, please call the election office before you mail another one of these documents in.
It's slowing them down.
It is slowing us down.
Check and recheck and
respond to them.
Yeah.
So again, just be conscientious about that. Now that permanent annual mail-in ballot request, what it does, it provides you the ballot for the primary and the general election, but the permanent part about that is every year elections has to send you a letter saying, do you want to receive an application to receive the ballot, the mail-in ballots again. So the permanent part of it is simply election sending you a letter every year saying, do you want mail-in ballot applications? A comment?
Oh yeah. I was gonna write it, but I can say it now.
Yeah.
Tara said, "I get those, but I throw them away. I rather vote at the polls. Maggie knows that also."
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that,
Yeah.
Tara.
Yeah.
I'm going to the polls. I'll be honest. I'm not overly concerned in Carbon County with the fraud. Potential delays in the mail. That's always a problem. Now there was
Right.
just a court ruling today that is going to provide additional days for those ballots to come in and be counted. And I'll talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that today because that just came out late this afternoon. But there has been a court ruling. The good thing about the court ruling that came out today, there was an expectation where we were supposed to have our ballots mailed out Monday. Well, the state couldn't certify them because there was not legislation, there was a court case. Finally, the ruling has been made. It's, I guess, a Green Party candidate can't be placed on the ballot. Therefore, our ballots are all certified. They're going to the printer. And I would expect potentially as early as next week, the ballots can start going out. You know, again, that's if the printer can turn them around, get them to us, and we can stuff those envelopes.
Right.
You know? So, Carbon discusses election department staffing, the staffing in the elections. It's a topic I do want to talk about, but first I want to remind everyone you're tuned into Carbon Matters live streaming. I'm Chris Lukasiewicz, Carbon County Commissioner. An opportunity to have a discussion with you and amongst ourselves about the issues that matter most to us, hopefully to you, and that impacts, the quality of life or the life that we have here in Carbon County. I want to talk about the election department staffing decision, but I keep seeing this harsh mallow, pandemic pauses peep holiday treat that I really want to talk about, but I'm going to hold off on that. So what had happened, the director of elections and a commissioner made a motion. The commissioner obviously made the motion to hire an additional full-time employee in the Bureau of Elections. There's 2 full-time employees, 2 part-timers that we brought in the spring, in the run-up to the primary election.
And clarify too, those part-timers are authorized to work up to full-time
Hours.
as much as needed.
Yeah, as much as needed because of the situation we're in. So ostensibly, they are full-time employees for the number of hours they can work. They can work 37.5 hours a week, which is a county week.
But that's without benefits.
Right, without benefits, right. So my position was, in lieu of hiring a full-time election official, given that we really haven't had a chance to figure out what future elections will look like, because this is an anomaly election. You have the pandemic, you have a presidential election. We're being inundated with mail-in ballots that are a result of Act 77 that just came into force prior to the last November election, right? We need to sort through this, allow a couple evolutions to transpire so we can understand how we become more effective, more efficient, and what normal really looks like, because this isn't normal. This is the 100-year flood, right? The 100-year pandemic, just like the Spanish flu. So my recommendation was, well, we're going to hire 1 part-time. Let's just bring in 2 additional part-time workers now through the end of the election, right? Give them full-time hours. Mm-hmm. And then once things calm down in January and February and we have a better sense of what normal may look like, then we can have a serious discussion about meeting the requirements of future elections. And the other aspect is we continue to bring in technology. We have high-speed scanners to scan the ballots when they come in. We have a letter opener that'll open 4,000 mail-in ballots in an hour. 4,000, right? Think about how long it would take an individual to open 4,000 ballots, right? You no longer have that problem. Keep in mind, too, that there's actually 2 envelopes. There's the outer envelope for mailing, plus there's the inner envelope, the security envelope. That was part of the court's ruling today, too, but I'm not going to get into that. They made a decision. I'm going to say it. If you don't have your ballot in that security envelope, It'll be null and void.
Oh.
Where the whole discussion was, you shouldn't have to put it in the secret envelope, the envelope that says secret. But the courts have ruled that yes,
should, yeah.
that will be a null and void vote. So that's the elections. Hey, get out there and vote November 3rd. If you're doing a mail-in ballot, good on you. If you're going to the polls, good on you. Just get out there and vote. Yeah.
Yeah, so many years that we were away, we always voted every
Mail-in. Yeah, we're
but we
very
were-
regular.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
But it's such a privilege to us now that we're living here that we are excited to go to the
Yeah.
polls because we don't.
Yeah, and to take Molly. I enjoy
Yeah.
taking Molly
We
too.
don't have to do absentee ballots anymore.
Yeah,
so
so that's
great.
good. So, and again, it is our responsibility as an American citizen to do that. So again, you're joining us now, just rolling in here. This is Carbon Matters. I'm Chris Lukasevich, Carbon County Commissioner, with my co-host and wife Maggie. Once a month, we try to get together with you all just to kind of recap the most significant matters important to us and to you because it impacts your quality of life here in Carbon County. So on the lighter side,
Hi, Margaret.
there was a carbon revenue. Lake was down 215K, but we already talked about that, right? About 160 some from the beach, 60 some from camping. Gets us right there in the ballpark. But we have some good hotel tax money coming in, but that was already in the budget. So really concerned for Halloween. They're not going to have Peeps. People make a big deal about Peeps not being around for Halloween. Look, for me, it was always an Easter thing. I think for any of us who are probably in our 40s or 50s.
There's a great question.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Will the poll options in Jim Thorpe? This is Jennifer. Will the poll options in Jim Thorpe be the same as in the primary, or will they go back to what we used a year ago
No, Jennifer. They will stay as they were
for the primary?
in the primary. That is the position right now, right? So those who are down at, we had a consolidation where folks on Broadway would go up to the Dillies. That'll remain in place. We also had a consolidation on the east side, right, where we brought folks who were going down to Spook Glennon's, brought them up to Memorial Hall. And plus, you also had the Fairview as the other voting location in Jim Thorpe. So same as in the primary.
But going back to the Peeps, to me, Peeps should have stayed just Easter.
Yeah,
But they branched out to
everything.
To Halloween,
They're year round. St. Patty's
Christmas,
Day.
St. Patty's, yeah.
I think they're
in everything.
They're
so,
everything.
yeah.
And I guess I understand, right? A company has to make money to stay in business. You can't
Yeah.
just do Peeps once a year and expect to be successful, even though I do know that Peeps Treats, the company, does make other confections, right?
Right.
Confections?
Yeah, confections. Yeah.
Confections. But good on the Peeps.
Yeah. Jennifer said thank you for
Oh,
answering.
you're welcome.
welcome.
Yeah. I would always say, Jennifer, never say never, though. So, and I'm not saying I know something that something's going to come down and change it at the last minute, but
You never
stranger
know.
things have happened. The election delays irk Carbon. Yeah, they irk us all. Oh, that was good. Chief, Army Reserve, also bandmaster, right? And Jim Thorpe, music teacher.
Music teacher.
Right? Chief did a great job. That's Eric Flowers playing Amazing Grace on his bagpipes for Patriots Day, September 11th. Notice his camouflage, ACU patterned bagpipes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Remember
what
you said about Dennis DeMera?
No,
He actually spoke in Lehighton. not
at
the-
their
yeah,
event. And
not
you know what? I
the-
just saw Dennis up at the planning, and I meant to ask him if he did indeed speak.
It was in the paper. It was in the next.
Yeah, I did see that.
Two days later.
I couldn't just remember where it was.
I know because you were like, wait, I thought he was going to speak, and I was like, he was, and then 2 days later they showed.
Yeah, because it was, for us, it was Doyle Heffley, Wayne, Rocky, myself, a representative from Senator Udicak's office, and Christine made comments. I hope I didn't leave any. Fire chief from Nesquehoning, I believe. Yeah, captain.
Okay.
That was it. Yep. All right. Oh, talking about peeps, and this rolled in trick or treat, right? And right here I'm saying trick or treat makes trick or treat plans. I know a lot of the yeah.
You said trick or treat.
Well, peeper treat, right? Peeper treat because of the peeps right here, right? Yeah. So, but in regards to this, oh, it's neat. I like that. Look at the fall foliage.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that fall foliage isn't on Flagstaff Mountain there. What I'm saying is, again, 100% transparent. That backdrop is Schuylkill County. It is. Now, how did Schuylkill County backdrop get on there? Well, if you had looked, you probably didn't see it. I got
It's
it.
right here.
Is it?
This one.
All right, here it is. Now, if you see this, I can't. Can you see it?
Well, in a minute.
Okay. All right. So here's the rest of the story. I love giving that.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So you see that advertisement for Joe Stern, Maggie, and I discussing home rule. You notice that backdrop? That's the Schuylkill County Courthouse.
With Joe.
With Joe.
And
So
then
I
it's-
used his backdrop and the Schuylkill County Courthouse on this advertisement in the Times News and on social
But on
media.
your side, it was our Carbon County one.
No. I actually pulled the courthouse out.
See, right there.
That's our courthouse, but
Yeah.
it's still on the Schuylkill County backdrop.
Oh, backdrop. Yes.
Yeah.
I know, because I was the one who told you. Just
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So a
Extend
little
it.
Photoshop magic.
Yeah.
A little
Extend
Photoshop
it,
magic.
just so that it was one
Yep.
continuous.
Yeah,
ridge
so
line.
glad to see. 31 October in Jim Thorpe, 5 to 7. They made it an hour earlier. Obviously, they want us to take precautions to minimize contact.
Tell them what we're gonna do, because we're gonna have I thought you said a table.
I thought we'd put a
and
table
then we have gloves,
and then we'll.
and then we're gonna, as kids walk up, we're gonna put the candy on, and they take that candy for themselves, and then we
Yeah.
just put it. We'll put it on the table, and then they grab it.
Yeah.
That way, there's a separation between us with the table, plus the gloved hand. They don't touch the gloved hand, and then the gloved hand goes into the. We have
Yeah.
like a little cauldron or whatever.
Yeah, and I think everyone that night will probably be wearing masks. Everyone. So Governor Wolf, I think you'll have your way that night. Everyone will be wearing a mask outside even. Isn't that another fiasco? Love the court ruling on that for some of the unconstitutional findings there. All right, Maggie. Well, thank you so much. All right. So if you're just tuning in, this is Carbon Matters. I'm Chris Lukasevich, Carbon County Commissioner, joined by my wife and co-host, Maggie Lukasevich. How about what a lead in there? Wolf restrictions, unconstitutional, right? So judge says governor's action to curb virus spread had good intentions but violated rights. Now, I don't know if it's the best of intentions when you step on our constitutional rights.
Right.
I know they're asking for a stay on this, so basically it's not implemented. They want to appeal it. Again, I think any business, any entity, any individual needs to make a personal decision on what actions they want to take or how they want to conduct themselves. I would only say be considerate of others. Whatever you choose to do, be considerate of others. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. But if I'm sensitive or I'm appearing vulnerable, comorbidity, or a pre-existing condition, be sensitive to the wishes of others. That's all I say. It's that respect and being considerate of others.
30 years ago, we wouldn't have even been having to say that.
Yeah.
People would have been considerate.
Yeah. Yeah, but today you have to keep telling them
people.
too. Yeah. Yep. But so Carbon County, we're doing great. We're in the low 400s of COVID-19. Still only 28 deaths. Doing real well there. Yeah.
Hi,
Charlie
Sherry.
Bott.
Sherry. Hi.
Oh, Pete
Sherry
Bott.
McHugh.
Oh, hi, Sherry. Hey, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we see Jim's work vehicle.
Every day for me.
Yeah, we see Jim's work vehicle parked down there by the bank.
Yeah.
As we walk about I think we get by around 5:20, 525 maybe, down around Sherry and Jim's place.
Yeah.
Down there. All right. So Pete Bott had an editorial in the paper about he does not like the fact that the borough and now in about a month and a half, 2 months, the county is going to kiosks. Old Pete likes to just drop a quarter or two in the kiosks. Well, I can understand that, but you can drop quarters in the kiosks also.
Yeah.
And then you get that
It
little
will take-
ticket that will spit out, at least
Right.
in the count. Excuse me,
I
the
thought it
borough
only
one.
took certain coins. So.
You know, some of the machines are set up only to take quarters. I think they should always nickels, dimes, and quarters. The Susan B. Anthony's, the Sacagaweas,
those
not
are-
really
yeah.
concerned about.
The Jim
But
Thorpe.
look, I'm always looking to get rid of
You have the
coins.
Jim Thorpe dollar.
Yeah, which is a Sacagawea, but it has Jim
Jim
Thorpe,
Thorpe
right?
on it, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Still have about 70 of them. We were giving them out during the campaign
During
to
the
kids and
campaign.
stuff like that. I like that.
Yeah.
But Pete, like I told you in response to this online, the Times News, I have some good news for you coming up about parking. Mostly for someone like you who's going to get a DOE license. All right,
Oh,
we're
right.
going to talk about kiosks.
Oh yeah,
Oh, matter of fact.
I just heard it. Well, it's still on.
Okay,
It's still going.
I'm going to pull up an image, Maggie. I'm going to take these. I'm going to see if I can do this here. Well, let's see if
Well,
I...
it's showing all your.
Hold on,
pictures
hold
right
on.
now.
Yeah. That's all right. Let's see. I want to see which. Don't look. I want to see which one this is here. I'm going to try to bring it up on the screen. What am I supposed to be doing? Oh,
I don't know.
slide. I'm going to call it a slideshow. Will it come up?
It's gonna show all your stuff.
Oh no, that's parking. Okay, hold on. That's not the one I wanted to show at this time. All right. So I'm going to hold. That's all right, huh?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, I'm going to start this one, and then I'll talk to it in just a minute, okay? All right. I didn't really want a slideshow, but I think I can do it
You
manually.
can do one picture if you want.
Yeah.
You want to do one picture?
No, I'm good right there for now. But first, let me talk about COVID-19 relief grant. If you go to carboncounty.com, right front and center is the portal page, and you can go. Oh my gosh, this technology stuff is great now that I was just thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, if I hit carboncounty.com, the COVID-19 block grant is out. The determinations have been made. So you can go see all the awards that have been given. I hope I don't go to Carbon County,
Wyoming.
which sometimes
There's
happen.
5 carbon counties in the United States.
Okay,
There's
so
PA.
so go right there to the portal. It's 4.
4?
Yeah, 4.
Sorry, 4.
All right. So you
Count.
go to the portal, and if you're interested in knowing, right, and you go ahead, once you go to the portal, go down to the transparency page, and there's going to be a PDF. Now, this is small, so you have to blow it up. So you can see, right, every entity, where they're from, type of business, their category, the amount of their grant request, if they received PPP or EIDL, the justified grant amount. So they were asking for $92.25. What we determined was justified $92.25. That means really eligible for. And then what did the committee, the 3 commissioners,
Recommend.
well, this was what was recommended by the committees, right? And the commissioners, did they agree or disagree? And here the commissioners' recommended amount, $92.25. So that particular one, we
Business.
agreed with the committee on that. All right. So again, if you're interested in the numbers, they are out officially just after around 12:30 today.
Pick one.
Pick one. Oh, there we are on Facebook.
Yeah.
How about that?
No,
But we don't want to go to that one.
No, we
Okay.
don't.
No, we don't want to go to that one.
We'll go back
Now,
to
I think the good point for those who did not apply during the initial, you should expect a second round. Looking at approximately Oh, yeah, that's that. Don't worry about
Yeah.
that in the background. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I would expect between about 15 October and 30 October to be a second application period. Now that's tentative. So if you have not previously applied, here will be your top opportunity. Small business, tourism, an entity that supports small business, a municipality that for some reason didn't apply before. Again,
If you
a
were
broadband
affected.
provider, right? You're impacted by COVID-19, your business or your organization. Here's your opportunity. Carbon County Art League was a recipient of
Yeah,
a
we
couple
applied.
$100. And how much was that grant for?
360
Was it three something?
something. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and I think that was 100% that was awarded to
good.
the Carbon County Art League. I did recuse myself from that because Maggie is a member and an officer, so felt it necessary to recuse myself from that vote. Fortunately, Rocky and Wayne did support that. It's your refrigerator, it sounds like. Yep, it is indeed. So again, if you have not yet applied, stand by. We have $727,000 available for that second round. So keep your eyes peeled, your ears open for when that's going to go ahead and
Especially
take
if you
place.
miss the first deadline.
Yeah. And interesting, right? Remember now we had $5.79 million that were available. And on this round, we gave out $3.6 million. Now, we do have some money that's still in hold, $500,000 for broadband. We did get some proposals and projects in by 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and we're reviewing them, and we'll make a decision over the next week if we're going to award them or not. If we don't use that $500,000 for broadband, we're going to put that back into the general fund. So there's a possibility of $1.2 million being available.
Okay, and Dee said, "Thank you, Commissioner Lukasevich, for your execution and consideration in the grant process."
Yep. You're welcome, Dee, and I think you guys did pretty well. I did see that particular entity grant application, and we looked at all of them, and we looked at all the documentation associated with them, and we did have some differences with some of the committees, but you can see all that on that transparency page. So we had 117 small businesses. That was the largest group that was awarded, and they were awarded just over $2 million. And then next were the nonprofits, about $853,000. Now, we did have 10 fire companies that applied, but their awards are on hold because they also applied for a fire commission grant. So until a determination is made if they got that grant or not, we're withholding payment. Again, you can't be double dipping.
So if they don't get the other one, then they would get this one.
Yeah, for the amount that we justified. That may be different. Right? Exactly, though. Yeah. So again, we didn't eliminate them. We said, look, we know you're applying for this other grant. We hope you're successful in it. But in order to take care of you, we're going to hold this money in escrow, more or less. And once a determination is made on that grant, boom, we'll go ahead and fund it. All right, I'm good, Max. Thank you. Yeah. All right.
You're going off the screen. That's why I keep
really?
saying,
Wow, that's crazy. All right. So what you see, and this will be posted online. I'll do this in about the next hour or two. Those are the new parking zones. They're not really new parking zones. Anyone who's been in downtown Jim Thorpe knows the parking areas. We've just redesignated them for the purpose of the kiosks.
It might be too small.
I suspect it is. That's why I'm just...
If you go to it, then you can blow it up to just where the parking is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just touch on the picture. No,
right. Just touch on the picture.
Yeah, touch on the picture. Well, what's going on?
No, hold on. I have to cancel it. Yeah, I have to go to the...
There. Now blow it up.
It is.
No, blow it up to the... Right down to the... Oh, you're showing the... That's the river, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, look.
No, this isn't the river. That's the parking.
That's parking. Okay, got it.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
So you can.
So again, this is just the different. But again, it depends on this, Maggie. They're not seeing this screen live.
I'm looking at this, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. So although it's a light blue, that's just redesignation of the zones. a couple things. I'm going to talk about the parking ordinance that is being published right now. It is, matter of fact, it is available on the county website. If you go to carboncounty.com, it is on there. It's probably front and center. I didn't look to see. It's probably right there when we went by it.
Didn't you do, the motion was made today, right, for the,
For that, to begin the advertisement. But let me talk a couple facts about the new parking ordinance, and one I'm excited about because it was one of my day one motions. So parking is going to remain at 50 cents for a 30-minute period. Zone 1 or the county lot, though, will remain daily parking, right? Everything else is by 30-minute increments.
there's a question.
Yeah.
Tom Zimmerman says, just wondering why the Legion said ineligible on the grants.
There were 2 or 3 legions that had their 501c status revoked.
3?
Or yes, C4. C4. They were 501c
C4.
C19s.
Oh,
501c19s is a veteran organization. So, for example, if you had not, sometime in the past, for 3 consecutive years, not been filing your mandatory tax form as a nonprofit, the IRS revokes your status.
Right.
And you know how volunteer organizations, they have so much turnover and volatility. You know, sometimes it happens. Matter of fact, it did happen up there in Lansford, didn't it? Right? Was a perfect example. Nate and where Christine are up there, you know, unbeknownst to them, that status had expired. And the CARES Act stated clearly it had to be a 501c3 or 19 in good standing. That is, you didn't have a revoked status. So that is why that occurred. Now, if I could, I'm going to go back to the parking. Keep an eye on the time, first love, would you?
Oh, okay.
Yep, just in case.
Oh, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Oh my gosh. So about the parking. So it's going to remain 50 cents for every 30 minutes. I am going to tell you, in the county lot, daily fees are going to go from $6 a day to $8. And then on the weekends, it'll go from 10 to 12 in the county lot. Now, one of the things you'll recognize that during the week, it's 8 hours, right? The county is open, 8:30 to 4:30. So in the county lot, when you go in there for a day, you're paying for 8 hours of parking at 50 cents for 30 minutes. Enforcement hours are scheduled to be between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Now, if you're not from Carbon County, I want you to turn off your computer, get off of this Facebook feed right now, because I want to say something for Carbon County residents only. This is the inside story. Enforcement for the ordinance is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Let me ask you, what time do county employees come to work? What time is there a mass exodus from the county parking lot? Do I have to be any more clear? Right? Enforcement hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. County hours of operations. Employees come on the clock at what time? What time do they go home? All right, I'm going to leave it at that. All right, there's the inside scoop. But more importantly, starting January 1st, 2022, yeah, that's about 14 or 15 months, but we need to ensure we have our system down. If you schedule an appointment for a service with a county department that falls under the commissioners, or a row office, or a court office that participates in this program, you will receive 2 hours of free parking to conduct that business. So Pete Bott, in 2022, you're going for your dough license. You call Ronnie Sheehan, schedule an appointment for him. He will give you a secret code
Not
number.
Ronnie, because he'll be retired by then.
Oh, well, by that one?
Yeah.
21? Okay, so you'll call the treasurer, right? Go down to get your dough license or whatever the case may be. He'll provide you a one-time use number that will give you 2 hours of validated parking. So again, for county residents who pre-schedule an appointment for a service or interaction with a county department or row officers row offices, Brothonotary, Clerk of Courts, Register of Wills, etc., and court offices that participate in the program. We're not making it mandatory. We're going to offer it to them, but as co-equal elected officials and not truly falling under the control of the commissioner's office, we're not going to require them. We're going to give them the opportunity. You come see Chris Lukasiewicz in the commissioner's office, guess what? I'm going to give you 2 hours of free parking. All right? You know?
This I will say this though, if there's a row office or officer who opts not to be a part of this,
you probably won't be a row officer very long.
yeah,
You'd be a one-termer.
I think that would be a good thing to make very clear to a lot of people that they refuse to participate.
You know, Maggie, that's it. We're out of time. And I had one big issue. I want to talk about home rule again, because I really did. I wanted to re-emphasize it and bring it back home and stuff like that. But I'm just not going to have the time. Not going to have the time to do that. So I will continue to post about home rule. You can see why I think home rule is so important. It's posted right behind me. I want to thank Maggie, you for joining me. I always enjoy and the pleasure of your company down here in your little Maggie cave. All right, but I can't wait to get back to my office. And next month, that's what we'll do. But again, this has been Carbon Matters. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us here. For those who are going to join us later after this is posted on Facebook, it's always my honor and my pleasure to be here trying to keep us all on the same sheet of music, making sure we understand what's going on in Carbon County. We'll see you sometime probably later in October is when we'll next get back together, a couple weeks before the election. I suspect. Again, 570-503-6780. You can give me a call. Don't hesitate to do it. Or you can email me at clukasiewicz@carboncounty.net. And I do want to encourage you. You can call me, even set up an appointment to come down and we can sit and talk in my office if you want to do that. Or just a phone conversation. Email is fine for the initial, but I'd much rather talk about it. I have no problem going on the record with an email, but again, it's so much easier to have that one-on-one interactive conversation. So again, reach out to me, 570-503-6780. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Good night.
See. Bye-bye.